Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. My name is Charles Odongtho, and Andrew Mwenda, old man of the clan, managing director of The Independent, is here with us. And we are going to be continuing with that yesterday's discussion, but looking at it more deeply. We are still inside the Chankwanzi drama. That's how many people have called it. Andrew, you're most welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, Andrew, Mbabazi, the Prime Minister, has already signed, and we can confirm that. He signed the other day. Now, what does that now mean for his presidential ambition, if he had it?
I'm happy I've added if he had it. We do not know for sure that he had presidential ambitions. There was a lot of intelligence saying he wanted to run again as a president.
You said that yesterday,
yes.
Right?
Now, I think that in my calculation, if Mbabazi had presidential ambitions, Mbabazi seems to have calculated that because the normal structures within the NRM are the SEC, the Central Executive Committee, the National Executive Council, which is NEC, and the National Delegates Conference. Those are the three organs of the NRM that choose a presidential candidate. Yeah. So when he went to Chankwanzi, I do not think in his wildest imagination he expected that the resolution that the president should run unopposed inside NRM would come from the parliamentary caucus, because that is outside of the structures of the NRM that select the presidential candidate.
What would you say very quickly to people who still doubt that Mbabazi does not have any presidential ambition at all, people outside the NRM especially?
I don't think that, of course, they would. I'm most likely inclined to believe that Mbabazi has presidential ambitions.
Why?
I have talked to many people who are his closest followers, and they're mobilizing, thinking that Museveni was planning to leave, and therefore Mbabazi was his selected successor. So I have sufficient interviews I have done with people close to him which indicate that he had an interest. Whether he was planning to run against President Museveni, I do not know.
In 2016 especially.
Yes. But that he had the interest, that was very clear to me.
To see.
And I'm also informed, by the way, that actually Mbabazi and the president discussed this matter in 2003 and agreed that Mbabazi will run in 2016.
So there was a sort of gentleman's agreement that he should prepare himself to run.
He should prepare himself, in which case Museveni may have reneged on his promise. And that has come from people close to Mbabazi that I have talked to. But what you see in Chankwanzi is Museveni's political brinkmanship. I actually think this has shown Museveni at his very best. Why? Because in military science there is a principle called maximum tactical surprise. In 2001 and 2006, one of the things that made Bessege's candidature very strong is that it was out of the blue in 2000 when he declared, I'm running, I'm taking on Museveni. No one could ever have dreamt of it. And
but I thought Besige made that decision around 99.
Whatever he made it, when he announced it on October 26th, that he was going to run 2000, I tell you, it was like an earthquake had hit the country. Newspapers sold out completely. Okay, when he said he's returning, Andrew, hold a second. When he said he's returning from exile, it was so surprising, it was shattering. That's why you saw Museveni arrest him. Now, even for Mbabazi, Museveni did what Mbabazi least expected. He took him to the NRM caucus, and it is the MPs now signing a document and saying, the president will run unopposed and you sign. Now, if Mbabazi had not signed, it would have looked very bad. So, by taking him by complete surprise, he was able to immobilize Mbabazi.
Let's first go back to the issue. You said that it is possible that they discussed this in 2003. There are some people, I've talked to some historical people in the NRM, the old NRM, who say that Museveni probably made several promises to some of these people, Bidandi Sali, maybe the late Kategaya, maybe Mbabazi, and that he has reneged on that. How does that paint Museveni? Or did those things really happen?
I was also informed that one of the reasons Kenya was appointed vice president is because the president had an agreement with Cardinal Wamala, Emmanuel Cardinal Wamala, that they would have a vice president who's a Catholic to succeed him. And that's how Kenya came in. And so therefore, if Kenya was removed, and okay, at least he still has a Catholic vice president. Is Sakande a Catholic?
Yes, he is.
Yes. Okay, perhaps he will succeed in 2040.
Okay, then, Andrew, there are other people who have been discussed alongside Mbabazi, people like the Speaker, Kadaga.
Yes. What
does this now, the Chankwanzi thing, mean for a person Kadaga, like Kadaga, for Bukenya?
But for Kadaga, first and foremost, she is the Speaker of Parliament. Yeah. She wasn't even there. If Museveni, out of NRM's 244 MPs, Museveni had 206, it shows you that, and all of them signing the president should run unopposed, it shows you that the hopes of Kadaga that she has any ground to stand are devastated. So Kadaga is out of the race completely. Now for Bukenya, he can only be a marginal player. In fact, a comic one.
Why?
Precisely because, you see, to run in such an election, you need infrastructure. And the MPs offer you, even if you do not have the infrastructure of a church,
but many of these MPs,
of the state.
Andrew, you said the other day that majority of these MPs, the turnout, you know, their fallout from the votes when it comes to 2016, probably 60% or over that will fall.
Perhaps then the mathematics would be for
then why would they be such a big deal? They are only NRM MPs, not...
They're important in the presidential elections. You know why? Assuming in my constituency, I was an incumbent MP, I got 28,000 votes, you defeated me with 30,000. Museveni needs the 28,000 of the MP who lost. You see, even those MPs who lose, they still have a following, and they never lose by a margin of 10% to 90%. They normally lose 55 to 45. So they are still very important from 7. Why are MPs very important? Because if you have Kenya, you don't have the infrastructure of the state, which Museveni has. You don't have the infrastructure of the church. The Catholic Church is unlikely to support Kenya if Museveni is there. You don't have the support of the Protestant church and other institutions that really offer you infrastructure. So the MPs are the other alternative, because for them they have infrastructure in their constituencies which they can lend to a candidate. One of the reasons why FDC can never capture the presidency, even if they had some sympathy, is because it is very weak at the parliamentary level. It means that if you do not have MPs who are very strong, or parliamentary candidates who can have a polling agent at every polling station, protect the vote, and you win in so many constituencies, which Moi always suffered because his opposition always defeated him in parliament, you cannot beat then Museveni. Now for Kenya, the same thing. He does not have infrastructure of MPs.
Let's come back to the issue of Mbabazi and Museveni at Chankwanzi. There seems now to be a very strong hand and influence of the youth MPs. Not just youth MPs by their constituencies, but the youthful MPs. I could name them, but there is no time for them to be named here. And Museveni thanked them the other day on TV, and then I'm told they are actually, you saw Anite kneeling to beg Museveni to stand, that drama. What is this new love affair between Museveni and the youth MPs?
I do not know whether it's a love affair, but if I was in Museveni's shoes, the people who have the legitimacy to challenge Museveni and seek his job are those who fought with him in Luwero. This is Machiavellian politics. They are those who fought with in Luwero because they have as much a claim as him of having liberated the country. And therefore, they have seen him there for 28 years, they would want to succeed him, and he's not leaving. So if you are Museveni, it is better to bring the younger ones because they do not have the claim to the legitimacy of the struggle.
And they will not over-question.
They will not question you too much. They will be much more...
They don't know too much of the history.
So they will be much more comfortable accepting to be ministers rather than eyeing the presidency.
And that is exactly where my worry comes in, is that, do you share that worry? And that is the worry of many Ugandans, that we should have people who are strong enough, maybe like Mbabazi, maybe like Rugunda, maybe like the Muntus, maybe like the Besiges, who know the history of this revolution, to come up and be standing behind Museveni and taking over from him.
In many ways, you should actually see part of the problem of Uganda and the problem of politics, in the sense that the NRM historicals lost an opportunity in 2000 to break out from NRM in large numbers and offer a significant challenge. So from the time they left Besigye walk away alone, they were not going ever to mount a mass exodus out of NRM to weaken Museveni significantly. They attempted it in 2003, but how many were there? It was Bidandi, Kategaya, Matemba, and a few others. You did not see a large number. Now it is even less likely that any one of them can leave the NRM to join the opposition.
I don't want you to leave this point without talking specifically about the position of the old tax in the NRM. Where does this leave them in relation? Probably you tackle it together with the moving forward for NRM.
If you were an NRM
after
historical,
2021, after 2016.
If you are an NRM historical out there, you are a Rugunda, a Jim Mwezi, all these other historical pillars of the NRM, and you want to exercise any influence in the NRM, the better option for you is to be a very strong and loyal supporter of Museveni, rather than a lukewarm one or an opponent, because I think the space for opposing him politically has been weakened. Unless, of course, a black swan again, a rare and unexpected event happens, Museveni makes a big mistake and makes the opposition to him much more attractive, so that people are willing to incur the risks of opposition because the benefits seem to be very high. You need to have very high benefits for the opposition, for many people inside NRM to be able to take the risks. You know the risks of challenging Museveni? Look at what Besigye has gone through. How many people are willing to go through that experience? That shows you that Besigye is an incredible human being.
Doesn't that send a message out there that you people, nobody must stand against Museveni? He is like a chief, he is like a king, and therefore it is a monarchy we should wait for.
You are looking at the wrong side.
Isn't that the message it sends out? Why should standing against Museveni be criminalized?
Well, I should put it like this, that if you are 60 years old, you are entering your retirement age, and the Ugandans should not be looking at the old guard of the NRM for the challenge to Museveni. I think those who are looking for a challenge to Museveni must look at two things. One, you must look at the younger generation. People of your age. You are how old now? Me, I'm 101, so I cannot be really in the race. But you are 38?
About 38, 39.
So you're 38. People who are anything between 25 and 50, those are people you should look at. And they should do the following things. First of all, there has to be an ideas-based, a program or agenda-based opposition. You see, right now, Besigye is on the streets protesting for the sake of protesting. Imagine he has reduced himself to protesting for the right to protest. I don't think that is a big agenda. If you have an agenda that is rooted in people's existential needs, whether that agenda is for youth who cannot find jobs, whether it's for farmers whose crops are being destroyed by different types of wilts, whether it is for workers who are poorly paid, whether they're in the government or in the private sector, whether it is for students who cannot find scholarships to study in school, anyone who will root their politics, not just sitting in Kampala and in this studio and saying youth don't have jobs, but who will go and organize the youth, live with them, share their experiences, and become the actual spokesperson. I tell you, the day that person emerges and that social movement, Museveni will face the biggest challenge of his life.
Thank you so much. That was Andrew Mwenda, and this is Newsnight. Let me hand you back to the news.